Hello everyone, this is CJ Novo 992 and today we are back with a brand new video with a new feeling to boot. They come hand in hand this afternoon because what I was feeling and all the enjoyment and buzz that I had from Thursday's wonderful result against one of Europe's best has been ripped away so quickly based on a 90... I mean it fell away quickly as soon as Dundee United scored because I knew what type of game it was going to be. But you know what I mean, from that, the highs to a sobering 1-1 draw away at Tannadice to Dundee United and a game of football that has left me absolutely infuriated that we threw 2 more points away there, people. And it is, for me, that's who I'm seeing the game now. Again, you can come in and let me know what your thoughts and opinions are. Maybe you'll see this as a point gained because we did technically come back for it. For me, that is 2 points crumpled up and just flung away. Again, may I add, by the way, as our post-winter break form continues in terms of picking up points, it's just no good enough. But what's so weird about this game of football, this 95, 6, 7, whatever minutes was actually played, what's mad about this game right here is it wasn't a bad performance in terms of the players, because I can imagine there'll be a wee bit of narrative getting spun right now. They can turn up to Dortmund but they can't turn up for Dundee United, but to me that's kind of harsh because I think the players did turn up and they created more than enough chances to win that game. I mean, they had 29 shots in the game, they were inside the opposition box, took over 61 touches in the opposition box, they created numerous opportunities, they came up against a goalkeeper who was in inspired form for the little time we actually tested him. But at the same time, for me, this wasn't a bad overall performance. What this was a game of football where we made bad choices and decisions at key points, and it's came back to bite us in the arse with some of the worst decision making I've ever seen, both in terms of the players and the officiating. Now the latter there will bring a lot of laughs and jokes and mocking and all that, but what's funny about that, people, is the same people that do that will then bemoan and scream about referees when it's happening to their team, but when it happens to the rivals team they laugh and they mock it and they hang. But they didn't take a step back and they didn't realise that if we keep doing this, if we keep chasing each other's tails and we laugh at you and you laugh at us, the actual problem that's wrong with Scottish football will never ever be fixed. And you can't say anything bad about a referee or you get laughed at or mocked at or tears, but then they'll do the same thing when it happens. It's baffling, and it's maybe why Scottish football is considered tin pot in a farmers league, because we hate each other to death, we keep chasing each other round and round in circles, and the main problem that's with Scottish football, like I just said, continues to be clear to absolutely everyone. Referees, man, are absolutely stinking in this country. And again, some people who will jump into the video and not, I'll be like, look at you, drop points, you talk about referees. Well, I talk about referees and bad refereeing decisions when we win games. You just didn't see that because you only turn up and sing when you are winning. For me, I talk about these referees all the time. There's no agendas or bias. They're absolute dung, people, and it's sad to see that after Bobby Madden's horrific performance, the only thing that will come out from missing so many clear and obvious incidents in the game, he'll spend one weekend in the Championship with players there are part-time, paid very little money, bust their ass, work their ass off to just make it, and they're living their dreams as playing footballer, and they get handed that card. And for me, that's absolutely ridiculous that a referee's bad performance consistently at the top level results in a weekend at the Championship to do it. This whole country is absolutely backwaters and about 5-10 years behind everyone else when it comes to officiating. And you know, son, I can't help but notice that this is a perfect, painful example of what's wrong with Scottish football, and those who's in charge of Scottish football is actually holding us back. Because if you look back to our last game, what did we see? We saw the modern day football be used and done correctly, with the referee who's on a lot more money than the Scottish referees, by the way, miss calls, linesmen miss calls, but they were able to be corrected because of the structures that was in place in terms of VAR. And then you've seen football done correctly, then you go into this game versus here, and what did we see? Horrendous, and I mean horrendous decision making with no structure in place to correct or get the right decision. So you can look at that in itself, people. If that's not a screaming red flag that we need things to be done, I don't know what is. And hey, I'm not just saying, by the way, because I still stand by the fact that I've always said that VAR in the hands of Bobby Madden and Clancy and all that would be an absolute disaster. I want VAR, if VAR's coming in, it needs to be with a new crop of referees. You can't give the time and everything to these refs because they're absolutely stinking. And that's all I really wanted to say on officiating, people, because again, that's going to be a massive part in today's video, and I didn't want to keep mentioning it all the way through. I wanted to just mention it very, very briefly at the start. It was absolutely horrific again for Bobby Madden. And now we're going to transition into the game recap now because there is a lot to digest, as you can imagine, but we'll try and keep it briefer on this aspect because we spent a long time getting my frustrations and venting a little bit. But in the 12th minute, we have the big decision that both Bobby Madden and the linesman miss, which I think is important to actually mention as well, because it's a ball whipped in from Tavernier, because Rangers started off very positively, putting balls in the box, asking some questions. It's a good ball in. I think it's Charlie Mulgrew that kind of swipes at it. I think that might be right, and it comes back out, and it quite clear as day hits the arm and everything. Would it have been a harsh yellow card for the football we grew up with all day, and maybe even the football that we grew up with? Would it have been a handball? Probably no, people, but the modern day rules and what we've seen implemented in the games versus Motherwell and seen it against us not too long ago away at Pittodrie, that is a handball every single day of the week. It's even worse than the one we conceded at Pittodrie, which again was a handball because of the distance. Morelos' hand got hit within about a yard. This actually travels and it hits his arm, so for me it's clear and obvious, but both the linesman and the referee miss it, wave it on, and you're just thinking, oh no. But credit to Rangers, they got on with the game, and credit to Ryan Kent, especially because it's his move just a minute later that nearly creates something for Rangers. As he spins on the ball, he starts to gallop, he then finds Scotty Arfield. It's now a kind of 2-on-2, but Arfield decides not to shoot when he creates the gap. He tries to do a wee cute reverse pass to Morelos and absolutely wastes, which was a very rare counter-attacking opportunity with a lot of space. Just one of those things where he's trying to be too cute and it didn't come off. Then Dundee United had a very, very good counter-attack with that long ball in behind their defence. Remember we talked about that in yesterday's preview video? Yeah, people, they certainly were exactly what I thought they were, and credit to them. You know what I mean? I sat here and I praised them so much defensively, and you can see why with the amount of bodies they put on the line, their defensive unit, the way they work. Brilliant defensively for Dundee United, and that's crap for me to say. I'd have loved to have been talking about a 5-0, but sometimes you've got to give credit, and I have to give credit here for the counter-attack as the guy runs down the right-hand side, in fact the left-hand side of Rangers, and cuts inside, and thankfully Tavernier is there in the right place at the right time to get a block in and deflect it just wide. But where they nearly stole the lead with their first shot on target, they did just a couple minutes later after a couple corners that gets whipped in. Stop me if you've heard me say this before. No one's on the post. Header down where somebody would be on the post that would have been able to clear it. Stephen Davis would have caught that right here and cleared it. But modern day football statistics and everything like that, it's so easy for them. Just need all they need to do, the opposition. If you go back and look at every set piece goal we've conceded, they're all the exact same. It's an in-swinging corner because McGregor never comes off his line, and it's in to one of the corners where no one sat there. All they need to do is win that header and we're in trouble. If we didn't beat them to a header, we're pretty much conceding every single time, and that's a baffling strategy. But again, I know so many teams do it and everything like that, but you know how my feelings on it. Old school sometimes has stuff still to offer. I know, if you want some cruel irony, by the way, son, I never even mentioned, see the man who scored was the one who should have gave the penalty away. That's football. It can be very, very harsh on occasion, and maybe their goal was harsh, but I was really disappointed how we started to drop off just a little bit. From their one counter-attack, we sort of shook a wee bit, and that should never ever be happening. Now the response for Rangers was alright. We had a couple of wee nearlies and maybes and all that, but nothing too spectacular. We continued to make the wrong decision, the wrong choice, the wrong pass, the wrong time to shoot, and the not shooting at a time. It was just building and building, and that's how we went in at half time, full of frustration. And in my opinion, the changes had to be made right there. Love my boy Scotty Arfield, but it just wasn't his day, and you could clearly see it. Never really had the pace to threaten him, and after they picked up several yellow cards for pulling people back and everything like that, it should have been maybe an attacking player on a wee bit earlier to ask some questions rather than allow them to sit the last 20 minutes with everybody on it. But we never made any changes despite the madness. Moving in to the second half, it was all about the response, and there wasn't really much to actually talk about. We then wait 10-15 minutes into the second half before making the change that Stevie Wonder could see that we had to make. No idea why we waited so long, but the change was eventually made. Sakala came on for Scotty Arfield, and you could see the difference right away, soon as we actually had some pace down that right hand side. And the wee man nearly popped up with a goal within a minute of coming on as Tavernier whips in a wonderful corner. It's flicked on by Joe Rebo. It's a great save by the Dundee United goalkeeper, and then Sakala is about to tap it into the back of the net, troops. But look at the jersey pull in there, nearly pulls the soul out the laddie, and aye, that's 2 penalties now for the people that's clamouring for VAR when the league table looked a little bit differently. If VAR was introduced, Rangers would have 2 penalties, and I think that's probably a red card in that as well. Maybe the double jeopardy rule, I don't know if that still exists these days, but aye, for me, there's a red card in there, and there's 2 penalties, but aye, no one's given, because you know, Scottish football, and it's funny. But the pace of Fashion Sakala was actually a threat. You know, when he was allowed to play football and he wasn't pulled constantly off his feet, because he gets down the right hand side, he beats a man, he drills it across, beats the goalkeeper. Morelos unfortunately takes it off the foot of Ryan Kent, and that kind of breaks down, and then 60 seconds later it's the same combination down the right hand side. Sakala meets Morelos, Morelos meets it 3 yards out, but it's a wonderful save for the goalkeeper. But as you can imagine, the frustrations was absolutely at an absolute peak right now, because you could tell what type of game it is. But we did get the goal that our performance well and truly deserved, and it's no surprise to me that it starts with Ryan Kent, because to me, even before this one, he's beat 2 guys, put the ball into the back post, there's nobody there for a tap in. If our forwards were more sharper, if they were in the right place, if they gambled and actually got into the box, we could have been laughing the day. But eventually Ryan Kent gets on the ball, he slips a wee beautiful pass down to Calvin Bassey where only he can catch it, he pulls it back to Joe Rabel, wonderful finish. It's 1-1 to Rangers, and it's well and truly game freaking on. And at this point we had brought on Diallo as well, by the way, so you could see we're well and truly gone for it. And Diallo nearly stole the show in the 83rd minute, where it's a wonderful ball in behind. The first touch is gorgeous, he runs in, people, and then he's got the angle. I think he's just going to tuck it in with the left foot, or, you know, pass to Fashion Sakala, but he runs narrowly at the goalkeeper and tries an outside of the foot shot. Now again, he hits the post, so he's unlucky, and I'm not going to sit here and blame a young laddie like that. He's the reason we never won. No, there was a lot of players who missed big chances this afternoon, never made the right decisions. He's just on a long list of players that made the wrong decision, but that is the most blatant out of all of them, so he will get a lot of flack. But for me, I think it would just be lazy to say he cost us the points this afternoon. We shot ourselves well and truly in the foot several times before that. But where the laddie infuriated us all by not passing it a couple of minutes later, he did. In the 88th minute of the game, where again the ball comes down and he beats his man, he then does a great cross in to Fashion Sakala just a couple yards out. He just needs to make contact and he's absolutely burst the net, but unfortunately misses the ball, and then he collides with the goalkeeper. It's a horrific, like, sort of head knock, and thankfully both players were alright, but he just needs to get a touch on that ball and the game is won. So aye, another one of those things where it's close but no cigar. And there was 95 minutes added on, but obviously, as you can imagine, with the head knock, there was a lot of time took off, so we played a wee bit longer than that. But if I'm honest with you, never looked like scoring. There was a lot of back passing at the last. I just didn't understand that. Again, I wasn't good enough to make it as a player. I never had the mentality or anything like that, so I've got no right to be questionable. But to me, I just didn't understand going backwards and all that malarkey when there's literally 30 seconds to go, 15 seconds to go. Go forward. But again, to give credit, it wasn't as if every shot that we'd done in the game was bad in the match. A lot of them was blocked, so you have to do that to the defence. They threw their body on absolutely everything and defended with their lives, and they got a point in the game. And aye, disappointing isn't even the word to summarise that game, but is the league over? Obviously no, and I hate talking about all that stuff, people. There's still 2 old firms to play, still a lot of games to actually go. It won't be won and decided this afternoon, but obviously it's a disappointing thing for all of us fans, and we really need to sort this away form out and actually get back to killing teams off, making the right decision when the clear and obvious things that should be said and done is there to be seen. But that's all I've got to say about the game. What about you? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down there in the comment section below. Until next time, which will be Wednesday for the Dortmund preview, take care of yourselves. I've been Siege over 92. That's been Rocky. All the best and bye bye.